Is God concerned with who we marry or sleep with over how we love and treat one another in society? In the story of David and Jonathan, David said that I love thee more than my wife. Is this a story with homoerotic undertones? If so, why is it that the church rejects the possibility of David's bisexuality? Would you say the same for Ruth and Naomi?
The opportunity to be here. I don't appreciate going first. However, somebody got to. I think that you asked about David and Jonathan. And in reading David and Jonathan and reading the Bible period, I think that we have a heteronormative view when we do our biblical interpretation. And so with our David and Jonathan also being in a patriarchal way, it's hard for our readers to reconcile.
Our first question, and the way this conversation will go is I will ask a few questions in each category, and it will also be open to the floor. For those of you in the audience who have a question, there are 2 mics. Make sure that when you're speaking at the mic that you come up close to the mic so that we all can hear you.
Where does the personal become political? And where do we move beyond simply affinity, what we have a particular affinity for?
Do you have the courage to love? You have heard it said that in order to love someone else, you must first love yourself.
My sexuality was something that was indeed given to me, as opposed to, as many people say, a choice or something that, I was doing in rebellion.
The Bible doesn't speak to homosexuality as we know it today. And I learned that, and I've fought it everywhere I've gone. When people try to tell me that the Bible is the reason that they hate themselves and that they hate homosexuals, that they need to go and take a class from someone who knows how to teach the Bible.
What does my being a lesbian have to do with the fact that in parts of South Africa, the AIDS rate is 70%? What does it have to do with the wars that are going on in our world? What does it have to do?
I think a lot of people do not feel included in the church.
I think for me, stuff around organized religion is sort of a trigger for me, because that was a big point of contention when I first came out, because my mom's real religious. So I've always sort of I've always found some aspects of it kind of distasteful, not really fitting in, not really feeling comfortable, and having to get away and having to get out.
Doesn't the church have the right to define what is sin, what is marriage, what is family?
The church does not have the right, though, to impose that on what we're talking about, a civil right, which this is. Marriage is a civil right.
We married at City Hall on August 4th. It was a very nice little ceremony in City Hall under the rotunda. And we had a really cool judge, and it was infused with political meaning.
Yeah, our judge was very excited.
Yeah.
It occurred to me that, this is God-given. This isn't, something I went out to choose.
You have to fight the system of oppression. And as long as you are going to try to say that one kind of oppression is okay, you're not ever going to be able to fight the system of oppression.
churches, facilities, places that hold people could have the ability to start to attract people back. So there are a lot of stigmatisms that come behind the word gay and sexuality.
And that relationship, I believe, was blessed by God. Did I have to have a piece of paper, or did I have to do that in church to make it holy? And we have to look at what does the term holy really mean at its essence, right? And holy means something different in ancient times. So when old and in theological terms, it means when we talk about holy, not doing or having a code. So it means something totally different. And I'm really particular about words and things that when we use words. So we have to be careful about that. If it was holy, then we'll do it. I'll say this again. Those that had it, longer than we had it, would have stayed in it. And they would have been afraid to get divorced. And that there would have been retribution from God if it was holy, because they would have been saved. And so, as soon as there was the writ of divorcement, laws, and you weren't happy in it, God would to escape. So, those are just my thoughts on whether it's holy. And some other people might have opinions on that.
I agree with you 100%. I am a part of an unholy union, so I can't totally speak to that just because you claim God is in it, you might not be there. So I would agree with that 100%. I can speak to and attest to some unholy unions and the great need to get out of it, but also pretending that God is in it. So that we fit in and we look good and we both know we're lying. So, and even having a pastor marry us so that we fit the bill, we look like the complete package, but we're not, we're living a lie for your benefit, of course, because you really care about our marriage, right? So, but no, men are unholy, and I'm unholy, so yeah.
Well, I'm going to say it's spiritual for those who are connected to their spirituality. And maybe that makes it holy.
Way out for a while, you know, and for us in our youth, there has to be that. Where are those who are saying, "Hey, I'm a role model is you can be out and respected, you know, you don't have to do all the other stuff." And it's interesting when young lady talked about, you know, prostitution and so forth. I work with the shelter program for youth, LGBT youth, and a lot of them, and the one thing we did not talk about is how they got here. A lot of them came here from other states, and I said, "You don't know how they got here." Oh, their family was not this nice. Because of their lives to get to this point, you know, and we don't talk about that. Like you said, sexuality, especially in the church, because that's the religious component is a stronghold in the Black community, whether you're gay or straight. It's a major stronghold. It has become the new master. There's something about institutions. When institutional hurt happens, it's like a wound that never heals. And I think the reason for that is because the institution is how society functions. We function with institutional things. What the government says, what the church says. Those two entities kind of rule our lives, you know. And I know me personally, I could never be an atheist for the simple fact there's too much God around me, and too many people saying that they speak on his or her behalf, you know.
The institution from a godly institution. And many times we have been taught that the institution and the people were God. And that is not necessarily true. So that means when we get hurt in the institution, we equate it as we're mad at God. Instead of saying I'm mad at that particular group of people, and I'm going to find another group of people that will love me. So maybe I'm not like the Church of God in Christ, maybe I'm going to unite the Church of Christ. You know, and so because it's the same God. So we blend this thing of institution that the church heard me to say, well, if the church pastor didn't like me, then God doesn't like me.
I think the idea of finding a perfect fit, a good relationship, takes time, and just you have to kiss a lot of frogs.
favor.